the town's Montreat's Board of Adjustment to order today, Thursday, October 26, 2023 at 5 o'clock. There we go. No, it's 5 o'clock.
Thank you.
We'll have a moment of silence, please. All right. And let's see, we need to see if we have a quorum. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We need 4 out of 6. So we have a quorum. So the next order of business is to approve the agenda for this meeting. Is there any discussion on the agenda? We don't have anything to add to it. Kayla, we're good. All right. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, meeting is approved as written. So next is the discussion and approval of the minutes. Angela has. May I have a motion to approve the minutes for the September 28th, 2023 meeting?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. So the minutes for September 28th, 2023 are approved as written. Next agenda item is the swearing in of new members. Angie will do so, and Mike, if you're going to go over to.
Danny.
Danny hasn't been sworn in?
He left.
There was just something weird happened.
Well, in a manner of speaking.
Ooh, man, you sly guy.
No, he's good.
All right, so do you want her to come to them, or
No, y'all go there.
go over there to Angie if you would?
Leave room for another one then. Danny.
Tell David to get his done.
Hebrew Bible, it's good.
How do we get David to get it done? He's like a Mark's brother. You need Barry here to sit at this table. Like a Mark's brother.
Do you, Danny Sharp and Michael Broussard, solemnly swear or affirm that you will support and maintain the Constitution and laws of the United States and the Constitution and laws of North Carolina, not inconsistent therewith, and that you will faithfully discharge the duties of your office as regular members of the Board of Adjustment, so help you God? Congratulations.
Congratulations.
I'm switched. I got them switched.
You're stuck with us for the next how many years?
As long as I can.
Indentured servitude. Didn't know what you signed up for. Okay. Well, welcome to the board, Mike and Danny.
Excuse me.
All right. Okay, the next order of business is to approve the written order for VA-222301. This is the variance request submitted by Todd Hutchings, who is under contract to purchase the subject property for the lot described as PIN number 072015687600000, located about 800 feet south of the intersection of Appalachian Way and Oklahoma Road to the following Montreat zoning ordinance sections for a proposed single-family dwelling. Number 1, section 501.5 to reduce the front setback requirement from 30 feet to 10 feet. Number 2, section 501.81 to reduce the side setback requirement from 15 feet to 5 feet on the north side of the subject property and to 10 feet on the south side of the subject property. And 3, section 617 to allow the driveway connection for the proposed dwelling on the subject property to connect to Oklahoma Road outside of the frontage area described in this section of the MZO. This variance request was heard at the September 28th, 2023 meeting where it was approved. State statute requires approval of the formal written order by vote following the approval of the variance request. Do I have a motion to approve the written order? Second. So, all in favor?
Who did the motion?
What?
Who
Danny, I did.
No, that's okay. So Danny did the motion.
I was
second?
gonna do reverse order, but that's fine. I don't mind being second.
Second, we're doing it really quick here. Okay, so the second, so, yeah. All in favor? Aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion's carried.
You got that in?
All right. Moving right along. The next agenda item is approval of written order for SUP 2023-01. This is a special use permit application to allow a 907 square foot detached garage accessory building with a final height taller than 10 feet to be placed in the front yard of a single-family dwelling unit submitted by Dana Boblia with Harrison Homes on behalf of the property owners Theodore and Susan Maruzas. I had the same problem last time. And Frank and Margaret DiFilippo on property in the R1 zoning district located on Oak Lane, approximately 450 feet west of Oak Lane's intersection with Louisiana Road, and described as PIN number 071-066-8141-00000 within the town of Montreat. This variance request was heard at the September 28th, 2023 meeting where it was approved. That was not a variance, a special use. Special use permit, where it was approved. Again, state statute requires approval of the formal written order by vote following the approval of the special use permit request. So is there a motion to approve this?
So moved.
Barrington, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion is carried. Moving along. We will now move into the first evidentiary hearing we have on the agenda tonight. This matter is to consider VA 2023-02. This is a variance request submitted by Charlotte and Mike Sebesta. They are the property owners of the subject property for the lot described as PIN number 07201-52779-00000, located approximately 700 feet south of the intersection of Appalachian Way and Florida Terrace to section 504.7 of the Montreat zoning ordinance to reduce the front setback requirement from 25 feet to 0 feet on the Florida Terrace side of the subject property to construct a single-family dwelling. So, the suggested motion is to grant, okay. So we need now to swear in any and all persons that wish to testify in this case. If you do so, please come up and put your, over to Angela, please. You might want to, just in case.
For any other audience members, if any of you are planning to provide sworn testimony, you need to be sworn in now.
Okay.
Okay.
Angela?
Do y'all swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
All right. Before we have you speak, we have a couple more housekeeping things to do. Do we have Kayla now go over board conflicts?
Yeah. Okay. We're going to go through my list. Yes. Okay. So we're going to go through our conflict of interest questions. All right. Have any of you discussed the project application with any other project or application, the applicant, the opposition, with any other member of the Board of Adjustment? Okay. Do any of you have a fixed opinion that's not susceptible to change to the application? No. Okay. All right. Next, I'm going to ask you about any ex parte communications with any party to this matter. Ex parte communications are communications between any interested party and any member of the board, written or oral. Okay. Sorry. All right. Have any of you had any ex parte communication with the applicant, any of the opposition?
No.
No? Okay. All right. Next, I'll ask you about close familial relationships. Do any of you have any close familial relationships with the applicant or opposition or any party that may be affected? And close familial relationship is defined as a spouse, parent, child, brother, sister, grandparent, or grandchild. Okay. All right. Next, I'll ask you about business relationships. Do any of you have any business relationships with the applicant, opposition, or any party affected? No? Okay. All right. Let's see. Associational relationships. Associational relationship, there's no specific definition, but this could be being a friend or neighbor of the applicant or opposition, participating in events, being on a sports team, being an employee of the applicant or association of, being an employee of the applicant or opposition. Do any of you have any associational relationships that you need to declare?
No.
All right. Okay, financial interest. Do any of you have any financial interest in the outcome of, y'all laugh, but you know these are my questions. Do y'all have any financial interest in the outcome of the variance on the success of the applicant or opposition? Do you have any ownership interest in the property?
No.
All right, perfect. All right, so those are my questions. There is one thing that I do want to just share with the board. Both Eleanor and Danny have David have come to me, not Danny, sorry, David, have come to me to ask a question about the vehicular access for the proposed dwelling. They just shared the proposed dwelling.
The parking.
How to park at the house. So I'll share the details of that information after we go into the case. But essentially they just wanted to make sure that the cars could safely get into the driveway, given that it's got kind of a weird relationship with the gravel. But that was what we talked about, and I just wanted to let the rest of you know, and I'm going to include the information that we discussed in my presentation.
All right. So I now open the evidentiary hearing on this matter and ask for testimony from the zoning administrator. Kayla, take it away.
Thank you. PowerPoint, please.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
All right. Josh is pulling my presentation up. Thank you. Okay. So for the record, my name's Kayla DiChristina, and I'm the zoning administrator for the town of Montreat. I ask permission from the board to enter into the record my staff report, exhibits, and the applicant's materials. Is that acceptable? Okay. All right, so this is VA 2023-02. This is a variance request for PIN number 07201527790000. All right, next slide, please. All right. So the property does not have, bless you, the property does not have an E911 address assigned to it right now. The subject property is located between Missouri Road and Florida Terrace, approximately 700 feet south of the intersection of Appalachian Way and Florida Terrace. The owners are Charlotte and Mike Sebesta, who are also the applicants, and they are here tonight if the board has any questions for them. The property is 0.20 acres, and it's currently zoned IR, institutional residential, and it's vacant and wooded. Next slide, please. This is an aerial of the subject property outlined in red. You can see Florida Terrace on the right-hand side and Missouri Road on the left. Again, this is approximately 700 feet south of the intersection of Appalachian Way and Florida Terrace. Next slide, please. This map shows the zoning of the subject property and the surrounding area. Again, the subject property is zoned IR and is currently vacant and wooded. To the north is an existing single-family dwelling on property zoned IR. To the east is Florida Terrace and single-family dwellings beyond on properties also zoned IR. To the west is Missouri Road with single-family dwellings beyond on properties again zoned IR. And to the south is a single-family dwelling on property zoned IR. Next slide, please. So the applicants are the property owners, and as I said, Charlotte and Mike are here if y'all have any questions for them. The application before you is a variance to section 504.7 of the Montreat zoning ordinance, and that is to reduce the front setback requirement from 25 feet to 0 feet on the Florida Terrace side of the subject property. And the purpose of this request is so that the applicants can construct a single-family dwelling on the subject property. Next slide, please. So I want to get into some relevant background for this request. The Sebestas have been in my office and on the phone with me many times trying to resolve some issues that appeared on their property. And I felt that it was important for the board to understand the journey that the Sebestas have been on. Okay, so I'm just going to read off this slide and feel free to stop me if anyone has any questions or if I'm moving too fast. So the applicants approached the previous zoning administrator in, Josh's thing is cutting off the corner of that power, 2021, thank you. 2021, prior to purchasing the subject property to inquire about any development restrictions, what development regulations would apply on the existing site. At the time that the previous zoning administrator looked at the property, there was no regulatory stream on the site. So the applicants purchased the property in 2022, and then in 2023, they came to me about beginning to build on the subject property. And again, that was to build a single family dwelling. Section 305.1 of the Montreat General Ordinance, Chapter K, Article 3, which is the town's stormwater ordinance, states that no built upon area is permitted within 30 feet of any surface water as measured from the top of the stream bank. So when I went back and looked at the property to confirm that nothing had changed and to, just share what restrictions were on the property, a stream had appeared on the quadrangle topographic map, which is a map that's prepared by the U.S. Geological Survey. Next slide, please. So due to the presence of the stream on this particular map, the 30-foot buffer would have to be enforced. Because this varied from what the previous zoning administrator had said, I advised the applicants to obtain a formal stream determination from the North Carolina Division of Water Quality. Their determination, the division's determination, would override the local ordinance. So if the division found that the stream was ephemeral, then that 30-foot buffer would not be enforced. If they found that it was intermittent or perennial, then it would be enforced. So on June 9th, 2023, a stream determination made by Andrew Moore found that an intermittent stream now ran through the subject property. And so the buffer requirement per section 305.1 would apply, which bisected the development envelope. I reached out to Andrew as to why there was now a stream on the property, whereas there hadn't been one before. And he explained to me that the quadrangle topographic map, again prepared by the U.S. Geological Survey, went through a major revision in 2022. And that meant that there were new regulatory streams added to the map and there were some taken away. But unfortunately, on the Sebestas property, that meant that there was now an intermittent stream. Next slide. So the image on the top left is that USGS map. You can see the blue line stream crossing Missouri Road. And then the image on the bottom right is from Andrew Moore's stream determination report. Again, you can see the stream on the site, which is outlined in that light blue color. And the full stream determination is an exhibit in your staff report, and the applicants also provided a copy. Next slide, please. All right, so I sat down with the Sebestas and outlined 5 routes that they could take to increase their development envelope. They're on the screen before you. Just run through them really quickly. Amend the building plans to utilize the provisions that would allow them to build in the built-upon area. For example, you can build slatted decks because those are not considered pervious surfaces. Obtain an administrative level setback reduction, which I'll get into shortly. That's per section 609 of the Montreat zoning ordinance. Obtain a variance, which is what they're here for tonight. Apply for a text amendment to amend the stormwater ordinance to reduce that buffer size, or request that a portion of the right-of-way of Florida Terrace be closed and vested with the subject property. Next slide, please. Okay, can you go back one slide, Josh? I'm sorry. The applicants did go before the Board of Commissioners that slide's fine, thank you. The applicants did go before the Board of Commissioners to try to pursue number 5, and in the interim period have chosen to instead pursue the variance. Next slide, please. All right, I'm going to get into the staff findings now. So this is staff's examination of the application against the zoning ordinance, including any information that may be relevant to the board in making their decision. So again, the subject property is zoned IR. Single-family dwellings are permitted by right, so this use is allowed. This is not a variance to a use. Setbacks and lot size. So the subject property is considered a double frontage lot because it fronts on Florida Terrace and Missouri Road. So the proposed single-family dwelling has to comply with the required setbacks for a dwelling in the IR zoning district on a double frontage lot. So you can see the chart on the screen before you that shows what the required setbacks are. It's 25 feet from from the east and west sides, which is Florida Terrace and Missouri Road, and then 12 feet from either side, which are the north and south sides of the property. Florida Terrace is the side of the property that the applicants are requesting the variance from, and that is to go from 25 feet to 0 feet. The applicant intends to meet the 25-foot setback requirement from Missouri Road and both of the side yard setback requirements. So the only variance they're requesting is to the front on Florida Terrace. Next slide, please. All right, so section 609. So this is a provision in the zoning ordinance that allows for an administrative reduction in the front setback of a lot based on the existing front setbacks of the dwellings on either side on the same side of the street. So that's something that we can use at the administrative level to make development more feasible.
So that's not something that, I mean, that's an option, but they're not.
They've
the variance.
I'm gonna get into that, Eleanor. So yes, they pursued the administrative reduction, and I did grant that to them. So I'll explain that in a minute. So section 609 allows the zoning administrator to reduce the front setback of a lot based on the average of the existing setbacks of the lots on either side of the subject property. So the front setback of the existing dwelling on the lot to the north is 28 feet, and the dwelling to the south is 1.5 feet. The average of that is 15.3 feet. So the property owners on August 2nd, 2023 received that reduction. Should the variance not be granted, the applicants are permitted to use that front setback. So just so you guys know, the variance is to the actual setback requirement of 25 feet. But just so you guys know, they were granted this reduction and they are allowed to use it. Next slide, please. Okay. So I just want to explain Florida Terrace. So I hope this visual will be helpful, and I hope that you all had a chance to visit the site. So Florida Terrace is what's called a variable width right-of-way, which just means that the right-of-way itself is not a uniform width. It changes in width as it moves north to south. So the dotted yellow line is the actual road bed of Florida Terrace. That's the route that vehicles driving on the road take. The dotted blue line shows an asphalt gravel path that leads behind, thank you, Josh, that leads leads behind the subject property and the lot to the north. It's unpaved for a majority of its length, and it appears to maybe be used for parking, but it is in the right of way. It's not on private property.
That's owned by this town.
Yes, it is. Yeah, it's conveyed to the town. Let's see. So the properties that are outlined in blue and green have their vehicular access off of Missouri Road. The property outlined in blue has a driveway that comes off of Missouri Road, and the property outlined in green has a garage that you pull into. Pink is the subject property, and the property outlined in orange is a dwelling that I believe is the black.
Balsam Lodge.
Thank you. Which is about 1.5 feet from the right of way.
Approaches on the
Yeah.
That's a whole thing. Yeah, so not it. So this is what's kind of going on in that area. And the gravel asphalt path that is on the right side of the subject property, that's the side of the subject property that the variance request is for. It's not on the Missouri side, just to orient you. Next slide, please. All right. These are some images that I took from Florida Terrace. The image on the bottom left is when you are standing in the middle of the road facing south. The images on the right show from the bottom up as one turns off of the actual vehicular roadway and goes down that path. So you can see that the road bed is on the right. There's a little bit of a paved area, a gravel parking pad, and then it continues on going north along the subject property and the property outlined in green and turns to gravel. In these images on the right-hand side, the subject property is on the right. Let's see. So the actual roadbed of Florida Terrace is about 50 feet away from the closest point of the subject property, and the area between the roadbed and that gravel asphalt path that's adjacent to the subject property is densely vegetated. So you can densely vegetated. So you can see that on the lots of trees, very woody trees, plants, green. So you can see that on the images on the right. That kind of tree stand that's right in the middle of the two roads, two paths, is what's right in the middle. Lots of trees, very dense. You wouldn't know that little gravel path is back there unless you knew it was there. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is the applicant's site plan. Hang on. Sorry, got a little bit lost. So this is, yes.
You need to speak into the microphone, Danny, if you could.
The right-of-way is from the subject property to Florida Terrace. Are you saying that right-of-way is 50 feet?
No, so the actual roadbed, so the right-of-way abuts the subject property.
Right?
So the right-of-way almost looks like triangular, right?
Okay.
And so you have that blue dotted line, which is that gravel asphalt path, and then
Right.
you have the yellow dotted line, which is the actual vehicular roadbed. That's where the vehicles are traveling. And so where the vehicles are traveling is 50 feet away from the closest point of the subject property. So
Thank you.
on here,
I got it.
here to here.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, next slide.
Is it appropriate for a question?
Yeah, if y'all have questions.
I'm puzzled by we went down and looked at it, and the gravel road is part of city property. But the setback is from the gravel road.
It is on the gravel road. It's the on this adjacent to the gravel. So if you look at this plat, you can see that the surveyor labeled this area as gravel. Everything to the right of the subject property is right of way. So
Well, that's what I'm troubled by. So we have a right of way that encompasses the gravel, we're calling it a gravel road. I don't know what it is.
It's, I don't really know if I'd call it a road,
I wouldn't either.
because it's just a path that somebody made. The actual road bed is 50 feet away from the closest point of the property.
But the discussion that we're having today is assuming that the setback starts on the gravel path.
It does not start on the gravel path. It starts,
On the edge of the property.
right, so
But I mean, but up. The, what is it we're trying to protect by if we enforce the setback?
well, the setback is a requirement of all the development. Setbacks are used in general to separate uses, to just provide a buffer from your neighbors, provide distance from traffic. There's many different reasons you would have a setback.
I think what I'm troubled by, I don't think I'm making myself very clear. The setback we're talking about is the inside border of the gravel path. That's the line.
I'm not sure I understand.
This is better. Let me just show right here. Here's the gravel path, here's the roads up here. This is the property line right here. Normally, it would be 25 feet back from there. They want to be,
But from the gravel.
no, from this, from this,
From the property line.
from the property line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they want to be right on the property line instead of 25 feet back. This is all town.
Well,
Right
okay,
away.
gotcha.
It's all
Yeah.
right away.
Thank you.
Yeah, and just to add to that, I did a rough measurement, and this is part of the discussion that I had with Eleanor and David. The house, the closest point of the house to the gravel path is 12 feet away. That's not shown on any diagram y'all have. That's just something that I measured. So it's quite a bit away from the actual gravel path. Any other questions? Yes.
Mike?
Thank you, Josh. Now, the whole point of this, and Charlotte, y'all correct me if I'm wrong, y'all need to be 30 feet away from that intermittent stream.
Yeah.
And you can't go any further back towards that. So that behooves you to move the house forward.
So,
Am I-
David,
We're going to come back to
I'm
that.
gonna get into that in a minute.
Let's
Um,
continue on with.
good.
the
Yeah,
zoning
I can
administrator.
only give y'all so much information at a time.
We can have questions for the zoning administrators after she's finished her
Yes.
presentation.
So, okay, next, yeah,
Moving
next
on.
slide, please.
Sorry.
That's all right. Next slide. Okay, so these are some additional pictures. This is on Missouri Road. The top image is the subject, or is the property outlined in blue. That's the driveway. And then the bottom picture is the property outlined in green, and that is, there's a garage just past that telephone pole, just so you can understand the access to those properties. Next slide, please. Okay, again, this is the applicant's site plan that shows the proposed footprint of the dwelling and the setbacks. Next slide, please. Okay, David, I'm going to get into this. So this is the stormwater ordinance. I just want to reiterate again the impact that this intermittent stream has on the subject property. So section 305 of the Montreat General Ordinance, Article 3, requires that no built-upon area is permitted within 30 feet of any surface water as measured from the top of the stream bank. So built-upon area is essentially any impervious surface. So that would include a house, pavement, gravel, roads, parking lots, anything like that. There are several elements that are not included, so wooded, slatted deck, things like that, but for the most part, most of a dwelling is going to be included in a built-upon area definition.
Caleb,
Yes,
just so I am absolutely, I have it
That's all right.
completely great in my brain. what is the difference between ephemeral and intermittent?
Sure. So a ephemeral stream is one that contains water during a storm event. It's not a stream. It's not a stream that is conducive with biological life. Intermittent and perennial are streams that are conducive to biological life.
But what makes it intermittent?
That is a division of water quality determination. That is not, I look at two maps, and if it shows it, I enforce it. And I tell people that if they want to, if they want to make sure that I'm 100% right, they can go to the Division of Water Resources and get a stream assessment. I don't know how those are conducted. That is outside my realm of expertise. But they are engineers that go out and look at it. There is a manual that they follow.
And they've decided this is.
And yes,
It
and
is
Andrew Moore has decided that this is has found, not decided, he has found based on the state requirements that this is an intermittent stream, right?
So does that mean there's water in it right now?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay, that helps a little.
Yeah. So essentially what this means is that originally the Sebestas could build anywhere on the subject property as long as they met the the standard setback requirements, so 25 feet from the east and west property lines and 12 feet from the north and south. But now all of their development has to be on either side of that stream and 30 feet away. They can put slatted decks in the built upon area, but you know, the actual house itself has to be outside of that 30 feet. Next slide.
Is that true of downstream as well? Because it says from the upper 30 feet of the upper side of the stream.
So it's just
It's
measured
either side.
as either side. It's
Either
the
side.
top of the stream bank. So the stream bank,
Top side or downside, yeah.
either way. Yes.
Okay.
Next slide. Okay, so that is what I've got for y'all from staff. So the Board of Adjustment must find that the request meets the following findings on the screen to grant the variance. Again, please use the template language that's found at the end of the staff report in your packet so the record clearly states the decision behind each finding. You can do the motion as after each finding or the findings as a whole, but I do need you guys to state the reasons behind the decisions. So that's all for staff. Do y'all have any other questions for me?
Anybody has any?
Oh, yes, Danny.
Mike?
I'm still trying to understand, this is the property line. And then we have from the property line to the center or to the edge of the road, the closest part of the property line to the edge of the road,
But this is all right away.
right?
Right.
Is 50 feet.
50 feet is all the way out here.
50 feet's all the way up there.
Yeah.
Okay. And what is the typical right-of-way in Montreat? I'm just curious to know.
It varies. I think 40 feet to 60 feet is the typical range. But this is a variable width right of way. So this one's a little bit different. It's different at different points.
And there is nothing on the plans of to change this road bed?
No, to widen the road or to construct additional utilities, there's nothing that we've got planned. And the town also doesn't own any utilities in here.
Right.
And just so everyone knows, I know Danny and I are touching a piece of paper. If you can go, Josh, to slide 16. Yes, thank you. So let me see how I can do this. So what Danny is asking is if the actual roadbed of Florida Terrace, so again, that route that the vehicles actually travel, that pavement, whether or not that's proposed to be widened, and to the best of my knowledge, it is not. And additionally, I shared with Danny that in the area between that tree vegetated area and the Sebestas property where that gravel path is, there's no utilities, anything like that.
So I'm looking now at page 13, and I'm looking at the top right picture, which is facing north.
Yes.
Much of the preparation for this lot would include it appears to me, the elimination of much of that vegetation.
None of it, except to the left.
On the subject property itself, yes.
On the subject property to the, yes.
But
left.
that is typical of,
Yeah,
of
I'm just curious,
development, yes.
just asking the question, observation.
And I'm sure the Sebestas can share any plans they have for any landscaping or anything like that. But yes, only on the left side, they would not be affecting any of the trees in the actual right-of-way that's on the right side of that image.
Plus, I don't think they could do anything about widening the road because of Balsam Lodge being right there. I mean, you have trouble getting around it in the first place, so I don't think they could do anything at that point.
Yeah.
So, any other questions for the zoning administrator?
Mike has one.
I'm puzzled by the gravel path. We can agree we can use that term. Is the variance that we're being asked to approve going to bring the home right up to the gravel path?
No. So if you look at this image, and again, I printed these images out for you. Josh, can you just show with the red the actual property line? Yes, so watch Josh's cursor. That is the property line. That is what the setback would be from. The gravel pathway kind of meanders in the right-of-way. They are not going to be right up against the gravel path. They will be, I think I calculated it, the closest point of the house will be 12 feet from the gravel path.
Right at the top there. At the top point. Can you show with that?
Yeah.
So this is the property line. Sorry. Here's the property line, right? This is the right-of-way, house, this is 12, this is 13. Setback is from the property line, not from the gravel,
Okay,
right? Good?
thank you.
I think right there. Yeah.
And if any members of the public would like to see my drawing, all it does is just show how far approximately how far the dwelling is from the gravel roadbed.
Real question, is the shaded part on here the actual footprint of the house, or is this?
That's the
the-
estimate.
That is, okay,
Yes.
it's not the envelope, it's the
It's the building envelope.
It's the building envelope,
Yes.
so parts of it will
Right.
be.
They
front and
still
back.
have not decided on architectural plans because again, the variance is going to impact what they can and
Sure.
can't do.
Okay.
But the architect did prepare some preliminary drawings for you all, which I shared with you, and I believe you all should have printed.
So that is the buildable space that they are going to put something in there. All right, any other questions for the zoning administrator? No? All right, does the applicant want to provide any testimony to the board? Yes, please. Come up to the mic, please.
My name is Mike Sebesta. I'm the property owner along with my wife Charlotte. Josh, if you could go back to that map or the plat that you were just showing. Thank you very much for considering this tonight. We greatly appreciate it. Kayla, thank you so much for all the work that you've put into this. It has been a little bit of a journey, but just a quick background. I know these. I don't want to take too much of your time because Kayla's already done a very good job of doing all the background. The entire subject lot, so track 1 and 2, how this all began, that's been in Charlotte's family since 1957. So Charlotte is a co-trustee of the Westburn Trust. So some of the maps were identified as Westburn Trust. She's a co-trustee with her sister and brother. So this idea came about a couple years ago when Charlotte's mom actually combined this lot and Westburn Trust lot, track 1, a number of years ago, 25 years ago. And so we want to build a retirement home for Charlotte and I, as well as kind of have the main house, track 1, be more of a grandkids kind of tear it up, don't worry about it. And then this house would be for all the older people so that we could have some comfort and things like that and accessibility. So the house, Westburn Trust house, was built in 1906, I believe.
Where is that? I don't,
It's right next to,
It's
I'm
the
sorry,
one right
it's right in the middle of track 1. So.
And I don't know
so
what-
that-
If you go, Josh, if you go to, go back a slide. I'll show them.
Okay.
Yeah, go back one. Yes, it is the green one, the one outlined in green. It is
Yes.
immediately
So
north.
it's right next to it. Okay,
Yeah.
the one right next to it. Okay.
Right, this used to be one piece of property, and then, as Kayla indicated, we went through this process of separating that lot back out because we wanted it for ourselves, and then to build a house, but to have it shared with the other trustees as well. So anyway, so this came about, and, we just thought, let's go to the, zoning administrator, let's check it out, because we did have some question about that. We call it it's a branch, it's an unnamed branch, which is the stream, and we did have some questions, but he came out, he checked it out, he checked the maps, there's 2 maps. I think it was on one, but it wasn't on the other, and so therefore, by law, it was not considered to be a stream, and not subject to the 30-foot buffer. And so, then we proceeded, and, some people might say, well, why is it taking you so long? Well, I mean, these things take a long time, and plus, I still work, so we're not really in a rush to retire anytime soon. So this is going to be our retirement home. So we had hoped that by this time we'd have plans and things like that, but we're still, still on track. So anyway, so getting back to the stream, why this is important and why we feel like this is a very unique situation with this lot, the pink lot, is, Josh, if you go back to that plat again. And I just do a quick math. The depth of the lot is 115 feet. The branch is approximately 45 feet up from Missouri Road, which was fine when we were going to build, a 2,000 square foot home. It would be, somewhat up but from the stream, but we weren't going to be concerned about building anything along that stream bed. With a 30-foot buffer, that 40 feet is obviously a 75-foot buffer up from Missouri. And so 115 with the 15-foot setback that the administrator already provided is 100 feet. So 100 feet less 75 feet obviously is 25-foot depth for a house. We just don't think we can build a house with only 25 feet. Obviously the setbacks and it's wide, it's 69 feet wide, less than 24 is 45. So you've got 45 by 25, it's like 1,100 square feet. So you can't really, and we don't want to go up.
Say times 3.
Right,
or 5.
we brought that up, but then Kayla mentioned there's a height restriction too. So
yeah.
then we thought, well, we probably have a downstairs walkout area, but even so, it's going to be a very small house. So, and mentioned that the unopened, this is very unique, but apparently it happens a lot in Montreat with the maps and whatnot. And there's 2 things about this lot which are strange. The stream, of course, but then that corner lot line, we could see it deviates down from the Florida Terrace. That makes a very odd sort of, it's not a square lot, I guess I should say. It's not even a rectangle.
Right.
So that makes it more difficult to kind of squeeze a house
Squeeze it in.
up into there. So anyway, so we thought, well, if we can get the 15-foot variance, and I know going from 15 to 0 is it seems like a lot, but the unique feature of this is that driveway, which we've used since 1957 as a driveway. We've maintained it, we've gravelled it. There's not much to maintain.
This is the gravel path.
This is the gravel path. So you come in off of Florida Terrace, you turn right there at Balsam, and you go down the hill.
Right.
And the lot is to the left, and so on the right is that unopened right of way, which, but just for your information, all the way at the end of that gravel path, unopened right of way, it has been closed, and it is closed. It was closed a number of years ago, and it's now part of Montreat College. So there's, and as Kayla mentioned, there are no plans right now for the town of Montreat to use any of that area for utilities. The sewer line runs along the right-hand side there. You can see SS, I think that's sewer line, city sewer, but or town sewer. Excuse me. So we think that there's plenty of buffer. The intent of zoning ordinance is to provide a buffer. As Kayla mentioned, the closest point to just the driveway, right, is 12 feet.
I think I measured it from the house, closest from the house to the gravel.
To the gravel, okay. Oh, it's 12 feet, and then you have from the gravel to the actual Florida Terrace Road,
It's 50 feet.
it's 50 feet. So
Yeah.
even if you go to 0 on the lot variance, you still have, 50 to 70 feet of actual buffer, and if that is the intent of the zoning, and I'm not interpreting zoning also. You will have plenty. Now, the question, somebody asked about the driveway and parking, that, we'll probably continue to want to use the gravel area as a driveway, because if you go with a footprint of, say, 45 by 45, so if we pick up the extra 15 feet, I think that envelope is about 45 by 45, so it's a little bit over 2,000 square feet, but we wanted to have a garage and other things, and decks, right? So we do want to have a covered deck. So a covered deck is still subject to the buffer. It has to be an uncovered slatted deck. So again, you're talking about kind of shrinking something in, but that's doable for us. And so I think that is really all. I'm happy to answer any questions, but we're going to probably, kind of grade the driveway a little bit and take care of that, even though it's unopened right away, but we'll probably try to work with that to level it out, because it is a little bit steep there, and then we'll level it out and then bring around to have a carport or a garage somewhere in the house footprint. But
Are
that's.
you going to access from the gravel?
Yeah,
Gravel road?
we would have full access from the ground. We would not have any access from Missouri Road, because we'd have to traverse the stream, and we don't want to, we can't, that would be another issue. We might be back in a couple of years. But that's, we're hopeful that we'll just continue to use that as a gravel driveway.
You're going to have to, right?
I'm sorry?
You're going to have to.
Yes, correct.
And is it also is that what you all rely upon to get to the next place that you're?
Oh, yes, and that's the only way, yes, and that lot, Westburn Trust, the house, existing house, does have, as Kayla pointed out, the garage, but it's actually, yes, the green, outline green. There's a garage just, you see there's a small little cottage there, but just.
It's
down
right
the
after
road-
the telephone pole.
Yes, facing south, just, there's a garage, but it's actually, it's a beautiful old rock garage, but it's too narrow to really park there, and nobody parks in there, because
It's
cars now
also
are so big.
pretty far away.
And it's
as
kind of
well.
far away, right.
So that is a picture of the Westburn house that your family owns.
The upper one on the left, that's
Upper left.
actually the Boyd house.
Oh, it's not, okay.
You can see in the right-hand side, of the facing south, the lower picture, and the upper
Oh, okay,
right-hand
I see
side,
it, I see
that's
it.
the Westburn.
That's
It's all
Westburn.
white, clapboard.
Right, okay.
And all these houses face Florida Terrace side. So the Boyd house faces, even though they do have that garage, the driveway there, and then Westburn faces Florida Terrace, and of course, Balsam does as well. And so it's interesting how this all developed, and nobody really knows why the town uses the yellow vehicular road and not the current driveway for ours, the gravel, the purple, the blue there. Nobody really knows what happened, but, since 1957, we've been
It is
driving.
what it is, yeah.
When cars came about, we started using that. So I have a little bit of a story, but I don't know if it's true or not. Charlotte's dad told me that one time that the yellow line was an old milk route for the town of Montreat back in the early days, and that they used that purple road, but then they decided that the milk route was more convenient as a road, and that's why there's such a huge gap
Right
between
there.
sort of where the houses were on Florida Terrace and then the road itself.
Okay.
So Florida So Florida Terrace was the mill ground?
That's what
Okay.
that's what her dad said.
All
That's,
right.
what do they call that? Urban legend?
Yeah.
But I don't know. If that's
But
true.
we're going with it.
But that's why it's strange that it's there, but it is there. And I think it's considered it is town unopened right of way.
You said it's closed at the other end.
It's closed at the other
So
end.
there's no through traffic.
There's no
going-
through, there's never been through traffic.
I can probably speak on that. So if you look at the aerial photo with all the colors on it, where that label is that says gravel/asphalt, you can see 2 red lines. That is, I think that's part of the right of way that's been closed. So when you move, you can't see it on this image, but as you move north where where the right of way of Florida Terrace branches in half, the part on the left, and guys can't see any of this, but I'll just try to describe it to you. The part on the left was closed and vested with Montreat College. Yeah. So that will never be reopened. This is essentially kind of a dead end. And that's why the town really has, to the best of my knowledge, no plans to use that as any actual vehicular roadway.
Except for your family, to get down to that second house beyond you. Okay.
And we always, had a very good relationship with the town. There's never been, any issues. And so,
And anything that the Sebestas do within that right of way, as far as the grading or anything, will come through me for approval. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
And in addition to any development on the lot, anything in the right of way will also come through me.
yeah, the other thing, that front property line of the lot, we just to reiterate, I know it's been brought up, and we're not building anything beyond that. In fact, it's probably literally going to be on the inside of that, right? Because you can't really, we don't want to go over it, so we're going to make sure it's on the inside of it.
Right.
Not by much, but if we reduce it to 0, we'll have some room to work. Because that front property line is so odd, the way it comes down, so we'll probably
it's
get
not
off.
squared off.
It's not squared off. We'd have
Right.
to figure something out.
So the plans that you included in this packet are just kind of some preliminary.
We worked with Maury Hurt, and we've been working with him for about 2 years now, I think it is. But anyway, and again, we don't know. We have a very good idea of what we want on the inside, main level living. We'll probably have an elevator, lower level, handicap accessible, and then, but beyond that, we just don't know what we can work with. It's, obviously, I think Maury will do a good job designing it. So we haven't met with any builders yet. Well, we met with one, but, so just to see if it's doable, right?
Right.
So,
Are there any other questions for the applicant?
thank you so much.
All right, thank you
Thank
for your testimony. Are there any members of the public that want to provide testimony as proponents of the applicant?
I'm Mason Blake, 428 Appalachian Way. I serve on the town council, and Mayor Helms asked me to appear today. He could not be here tonight. He would like me to express the fact that the town council has talked with these applicants about the possibility of donating right away in order for them to make room for this, for their house, because we believe we ought to try to make it possible for them to build their house. But from the mayor's perspective, and I can say also from my perspective, we'd prefer for them to have a variance rather than the deed town right of way and in effect give them town property, and to preserve the town property in town ownership. And if y'all grant the variance, that's the way we'll be able to handle it and preserve the other property, old right of way, which we don't have any plans to develop and we don't need for utilities, but can be held as open space, which a lot of citizens would like the town to do. So, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. All right, are there any members of the public that want to give opposing testimony? I don't see anybody else but us here. Okay. So are there any additional questions from the board for either the zoning administrator or the applicant?
I have a question.
For who?
Kayla?
Kayla.
Mr. Sebesta?
Mike, closer to you.
Mr. Sebesta made reference to this. The whole idea of the setback is designed to have a, what do you want to call it, a gap between the road and a residence, correct? I mean, that's,
That can be one purpose of a setback, yep.
and in this particular instance, because of the gravel road, we've got, what is it, 50 feet to the closest road if you exclude
50
gravel
feet
road?
from the actual vehicular travel way is how I'd phrase it, yeah. And in that 50 feet is a dense vegetated area. I'm not even sure you could see the house potentially that they would build from Florida Terrace because of how dense those trees are.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, if everybody's finished with their testimony from the zoning administrator and applicant, we will move to discussion upon the board. Does anybody have anything else, any other questions, any discussions that we need to talk about? Is anybody ever here? No?
I do. I just want
Go ahead,
a
Dan.
a clarification. When the former zoning administrator ruled that this was not an that this was not a stream to be concerned with the 30-foot setback.
There wasn't one on the map.
There wasn't one on the map.
And then the
there
maps
was
got
no fault
updated.
of the zoning
Right, no fault.
administrator, no fault of anybody, just a change in a
Right.
statute and a determination that happened in 2022.
Almost simultaneously.
Yeah, I
with
just
them
wanted to
buying the
clarify
property.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
unfortunate. So everybody's clear on kind of why we're here on that. In order to go to a vote, we need to discuss the 6 different questions here.
Has everybody done, have we finished?
I think I've opened it for discussion.
Okay.
And no one.
If I could just make my
Please.
closing statement.
Please.
I almost just said, Josh, go to the last slide, but I have the keyboard. I just want to remind the board that if the variance is granted, it shall be the least possible deviation from the requirements of the ordinance, and that in granting any variance, the board can prescribe appropriate conditions and safeguards in conformity with the ordinance, just to keep that in mind. But yes, Eleanor, if you guys want to go ahead, I'll need you to discuss each of the 6 findings of fact on the screen before you.
So the first finding of fact says unnecessary hardship would result from the strict application of the ordinance. It shall not be necessary to demonstrate that in the absence of the variance, no reasonable use can be made of the property. So that's not part of our deliberation. We basically have to say, I would say right there, the hardship would be, an unnecessary hardship would result because of the stream popping up in the middle of nowhere.
I would agree.
All of a sudden. So that's not the best way of saying it for the record. But we find
I've got it.
that unnecessary hardship would result. Okay. The second question is hardship results from conditions that are peculiar to the property. And I would again say because of that stream, that is peculiar to that property. It wasn't there before and now it is again. It's not like every property has a stream going through it.
Agreed.
So again, that one, I find that the applicant meets that question as well. The third question is the hardship did not result from actions taken by the applicant or the property owner. Again, the stream, it's not something y'all put in there. You knew about it. I wish everybody would do what y'all did, which is come to the zoning administrator before you even buy the property. I applaud you for doing that. The fact that this simultaneously popped up in the middle of nowhere is beyond ludicrous. So thank you for doing that. I wish everybody else would do that. So I believe on the third finding that the applicants are in conformity to that. The fourth is the variance is consistent with the spirit, purpose, and intent of the ordinance, such as that public safety is secured and substantial justice is achieved. I think being back from the road, I think more problems are with Balsam Lodge than this house as far as being close to the road. So I don't see it as a public safety issue. Is everybody in agreement with that?
Yes.
Yes.
No problem? Okay, so
Absolutely.
I find that we find that they're in agreement on number 4. Number 5, the variance requested is the minimum variance that will make possible the requested use of the land, building, or structure. I went to Kayla about this because I'm consistently confused about this, and we do this all the time. What we're looking at is the request that they are giving us for this particular instance. It's not to say, we're not up here to say, well, you can build something, but you can't build that. What they're asking us is just to say, within this variance, is it placed properly within the envelope that they have right here? If we decide no, they are free to go back and design another building and come back and ask us for another variance. But what this one is talking about is in this instance only. Specifically. Is everybody clear on that?
Yes.
I have been at a loss on this for a long time, so I'm glad that's been straightened out in my mind. So we find the 5th determination that the applicant is in coordination with that. And the final one, the variance is not a request to permit a use of land, building, or structure which is not permitted in the applicable zoning district. This is an IR, this is single-family home. You obviously meet that as well. So having gone through all of those, I would now have a motion to vote on this case. May I have a motion?
I so move.
Is a second?
Second.
All right. So the motion, I have to vote on that. So all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? So the motion is carried. Congratulations.
I would just like to reiterate the incredible appreciation for your process.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Thank you. And your patience with what must have been, I can imagine, some difficult moments.
We're not finished with our meeting just yet. We have one more thing to do. New business. Is there any new business? No new business for the evening?
Eleanor, I know this isn't on the agenda. We talked about training last time, right?
Yes,
We were going to
did.
revisit it. Okay.
Yes. All right. Just,
In my head, we're good.
okay. Do we need to talk about that now? No. Okay. Well, then do I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? No.
Go get Wendy.
Let's go have a beer. Thank you very much for coming.
All right.
Done.
Good one.
Very good, Madam Chair.
What? Arrington. Oh, get there. There we go.
I have spoken.
But it was built in 1931.
Before that right away existed? Yeah. Welcome to 100.
Nicely done.
Welcome to this one went fairly easy.
I don't know.
A lot of it's going
Scrutiny that we place in this zoning process is really added a lot to it.
What were you trying to tell me?
I'm not going to say that. I just think the level of scrutiny that we apply to zoning processes is, I'm not sure how